Hello, sexies. Welcome to Sisters of Sexuality, 5 Shades of Play. Today's episode is sponsored by OrganicLovin.com. Hello, sexies. You are listening to Sisters of Sexuality, 5 Shades of Play, and I am Taylor Sparks, your host and sex goddess for the evening. We are here for the purposes of educating, entertaining, and informing you in all areas of sexuality, sexual health, kink relationships, and the business of sex. I am so excited, as I am every week, to welcome a new guest. But before I bring her on, let me tell you a little bit about her. Sexologist E Michelle is an American Board of Sexology and American College of Sexology certified sexologist and founder of the Pleasure Masters Institute, an educational institution dedicated to training adults to become the next leaders in the sexuality profession as future sexologists, sex coaches, intimacy coaches, and sex educators. She is the author of the upcoming book, The Pleasure Path, A Woman's Guide to Selfish Sexual Satisfaction. With over 15 years helping people create the sexual lives of their wildest dreams, Sexologist E Michelle uses science-based education, fun, and laughter to educate on sexual health and wellness. She specializes in sexual desire differences and has been coined the pleasure connector by many of her clients. Her one mission as a sexologist is to provide more pleasure for women and couples in perpetuity. She teaches at conferences throughout the world via virtual workshops, courses, and private one-on-one instruction. Pleasure Masters Institute I put Pleasure Masters Institute in Play Parties. That was something I had to ask for you. Anyway, Sexologist E Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to hop into all of the things. So thank you so much, Taylor, for having me.
No, I'm so excited. And I had put a note for myself about the Pleasure Masters Institute because that was one of the things I'm like, I got to talk about this for sure. But before I get into that, anytime I have an opportunity to interview a sexologist or a therapist, especially with regards to sex and relationships and sexual wellness, my first question is, why sex? Like, why not raising puppies in the Arab community? Like, why why sex? Why not baking cookies for children? Why sex?
Yeah, for me, it was just always something that I was interested in, like always. From
Okay.
uh, early on, I could remember this major inclination to want to know what it was about. And I think a lot of that came from the the upbringing I had, this
Okay.
religious upbringing that said, don't do this. And all I wanted to do was
Mm,
to do whatever they said don't do. And,
same.
and to get more information about it. I think that was probably it. Um, and then it really got to, I share this story with people that like I was kind of propelled into this career literally with my husband on his deathbed. And so, yeah,
How so?
my husband in 2007 got diagnosed with something called disseminated valley fever, which is a fungus that you inhale. It's endemic to the central San Joaquin Valley. My husband got the worst form of it when
Oh
he
my
was active
goodness.
duty Navy. And his captain, the captain of their command, came and said, "Hey, you got to get your affairs in order." And I'm like, "What do you mean, get your affairs in order?" My husband was the primary breadwinner of our family. We had 4 kids, right? I was there in support of his military career while I was going to school. And I'm like, what am I going to do to take care of my kids, right? Because he's been paying all of the bills. I literally was like dealing with that, my husband being on medical hold and trying to figure out what can I do at the same time, like while I'm trying to support him in his sickness and also take care of kids, doing all of the mommy duties. And I was
Sure.
sitting at home one day watching Oprah,
Mm,
and
mm.
on came Sheila Kelly. If you know what Sheila Kelly is, she is a former actress, but she also
Uh-huh.
had a pole dance company, right?
She started the pole dance
That is
kickoff. Yeah.
absolutely. And that is
Yes.
that was a part of my transition into anything sexuality based. It's the very first sexuality based thing that I did. I bought into a franchise company. I later started the very first plus size pole dance franchise company in the nation. And
Ah,
that was it. It was boom, like all things,
wow.
everything sex. So yeah, the more I got into sensuality, the more I
Mm,
wanted to really learn, instead of just telling people information, I wanted to learn where it came from, right? I wanted to be like, I don't want to just tell you, here's something to use. I wanted to know how it was impacting your body to give you the best information. And so that was the kickoff. Get into it. That's how it all started.
wow, that sounds amazing. So I met your husband.
Yes.
So he recovered.
Yeah, yeah, he did. If in the medical journals say, and my husband's been in medical journals, say that my husband he was a miracle. They have no clue as to how he made it out. I have a clue, but science
Did
didn't prove
you
what they thought it did.
did you turn to holistic practices to help with
No,
his recovery? You,
no,
meaning you and your husband. I know the doctors didn't have a clue, but I meant for him to recover.
no, at that time, I knew
Mm-mm.
spiritually what had to be
Okay.
done. So lots
Yes.
of prayer and intention setting, lots of
Yes.
talking to our
Mhm.
ancestors, lots of all of that. I told them, y'all may know this science thing, but I know the creator. And
That's right.
and so
That's right.
we went to the creator and to our ancestors and allowed them to do the rest. And that's what happened. They did their
And
science.
he had a mindset change about healing, because the body
Absolutely.
can heal itself
Yeah.
um, in so many different ways, but that shift in the mindset to believe that it can be done, sometimes it's difficult for people to grasp, especially here in the Western world, because we're so used to dealing with Western medicine that only deals with the symptom. That's why I
Yes.
was asking about the holistic practitioner that looks at the whole body, which is
Yeah.
not only the mindset, but even going to the ancestor is a holistic practice.
Right. I think for me, I when people tell me I can't do something or something can't be done,
Mm,
for me
mm,
to me it feels as that may be true for you. It does not necessarily it would have to be proven to me that it can't be done for me to attach that. I am a person that says it can be done. And so when they said this is what happens, you
yes.
do what you do. We're gonna do what we do over here.
Right, right. A lot of times the diagnosis, even if it's dire, like, well, 95% of the people don't have this. Well, why are you putting me with the 95%? Put me with the five that do. So
Right.
somebody has survived it. Put me
That's
with that with only 1%. I'm with the 1%ers.
yeah. Fine. Based on what the science said, according to my husband, and you saw him walking around looking like a virile,
Yes,
virile young man from
yeah,
2007 when he said he wasn't
of
going to
course.
be here. Yeah, he is the representation of the 1%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Here, here. Good for him, and the love of a great woman.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
My
yes,
favorite
and
person.
the love of a great woman. So, yes, yes, yes. He, so you started doing the pole dance for curvy girls or for
Yeah.
plus size women. That business took off. What were you doing before that? Were you just stay at home, or were you?
I was in school for business administration with an emphasis in marketing, right? So I was doing all of the things, raising
Okay.
4 kids, supporting his military career, going to school pretty much full time
Yes.
online. I did some classes in Sweden, some classes online, and that was it. And
Mm-hmm,
then
mm-hmm.
I worked part-time as a jewelry associate. So I was selling people diamond
Okay.
rings in the part-time.
Nice.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I did.
And then you launch this, it takes off.
Hmm.
Now you're able to, while he's recovering, now you're like, I've got money coming in. I could support and make my own schedule and take care of my children and take care of my husband until he's back on his feet. And I guess I'm doing pole dancing now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was
Yes.
so
Yes.
fun and so empowering. It was, yeah, it was all of the things. it was so beautiful to see women come into the space and have discomfort around connecting to their sensuality. And then when we got started, with
Mhm,
our warm up or whatever and the
mhm.
cheering, it was so funny because when my husband got to the point where he was like better, right? He would come and be in support of my parties. And he would always say, I know when the parties started because he would hear, whoop, like all of his like screaming and cheering, women kind of just, excited about the confidence that's happening. It was really beautiful to see the transition of the women who had a little bit of discomfort all of a sudden be empowered by the time we were done with that hour and a half or 2 hours that we spent together doing these
Mm.
parties. It was beautiful. I loved it.
So what, and that sounds amazing. What did, as this started to take off for you, what did family members say? What did the kids say? I don't know how old the kids were at the time, but like, what did people say and what was your response? And
I had, my family, I think some of them, this uber religious portion of my family, of course, were their
mm,
judgment came out, which I expected, right? That's just kind of what we expected as a
sure.
result growing up in a very
Mm,
religious household. But I saw very many of my family, like families who weren't all the way super religious or friends, really wanted to be in support of it. They were sharing my cars. They were sharing,
yeah.
when I came home to
Nice.
Oklahoma, they were booking parties for me to do. It was great. And of course, my kids, they were, it was really interesting because I had a studio as well, a pole dance studio in our town. And so my kids would be up there in the
Hmm.
middle of the day, wiping poles down for me and like all
Plain.
the things, cleaning
Yeah.
mat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were fully integrated.
Earning their keep. They were
Yes,
earning their keep.
they were. They were. It was very fun, very
Yes,
cute too.
yes. Yeah, I don't know if there's a recent, I saw it on, I think, DL Hughley's IG. There were kids in the pole studio on the
Mhm,
poles with the like instructors and stuff. And
mhm.
there was 1,000 comments about how appalling that it was, and look what you're doing to these children. And typically I don't go to other people's posts to say that they're wrong. I mean, that's their thing. But I'm like, why are you sexualizing children having
Ex-
fun? You all are the
exactly.
ones adding sexual discomfort to this. And somebody responded like, well, don't you, those children are being indoctrinated. I'm like, they're being indoctrinated to fun.
Right.
There is no, that's it. A pole is an inanimate, it's nothing sexual about a
No.
pole until somebody sexualizes it.
Right.
To the kids, I'm like, I'm spinning on a pole. You have the
Mhm.
fireman's pole in the playground. The kids slid down. So I said, stop sexualizing children. It's creepy.
Yes, very much so.
Because the
I
adults are
100%
making
agree.
it. Yes, yeah. I'm like, it's just a pole. It's fun. It's not, so it's not horizontal, but you're the one that's sexualizing it. Even I think I told the story when my daughter was probably 9 and she was in track, and at the track and field, they have music between the heats. And she had found her hips because she had been taking dance since she'd been like 5 or 6. And she was just dancing, I was in the stands. And someone said, well, whose daughter is that down there shaking her hips? She needs to sit down someplace and read a book. And I was like, that is my child. And she has discovered her hips and she can shake them all she wants. She's only
Exactly.
dancing. And she is a voracious reader. I take a book out of her hand every night. But she dances, she can dance as much as she wants. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's like the judgment, and that's our own insecurities coming out when we judge other
Right.
people. Yes.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so how long did you have the pole studio and the pole dance for plus size women, and then how did that eventually turn, and where did that transition to?
Yeah, so I had my company, I want to say a little bit over 3 years. Our pole dance studio
Mm.
was half of that. And then my husband transitioned. He was medically retired out of the Navy, so we transitioned from where we were, our pole studio was, and all of that back home to Oklahoma. So some of that got
Okay.
like, okay, we're in a different environment now.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma was not going to be as open.
Mm-hmm.
It is legit the Bible Belt, right? We were going to be
Exactly.
struggling with trying to get people and convince them that this was not about something that was immoral or, negative, as opposed to them accepting that this is an opportunity for women to connect to their innate sensuality. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of pulled back from that and took on the more, okay, I'm gonna wait a little bit, see what happens. And I took a break basically from
Yeah.
any sort of sexuality at that point. And the break was very short-lived. Very short-lived, because then I started doing something else in the sexuality industry. I started like
Okay.
doing home parties, which
Okay.
took me to the toy aspect, right? The novelty aspect.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like a pure romance or one of
uh,
the other
so
ones.
I did my own company called Sparks and Spice Parties.
Sparks, my last name. We were meant to meet.
Yeah, yeah. I did my own company. I got with, distributors and pretty much did my own company,
Sweet.
did everything that I wanted for mine, and
Nice.
did that for two, I think it was 2.5 years. And
Okay.
then I had another shift.
That's okay.
I had another shift, and the next shift ended up being my kids opened a gourmet popcorn company. And
Oh, okay.
I didn't know how selling gourmet popcorn and sex toys at the same time was going to be in alignment.
Open your mouth. Wait, open your mouth again.
Right, right. So yeah, that kind of that lasted for like 2 years too, and then I was back to sex.
Yeah, you can't get away. You can't leave it.
No,
It's
no,
so much fun. It's so
not at
much
all.
fun.
Yeah,
Okay. And then we transition
yeah.
to,
And then we transitioned to me starting the process to get more education behind me so
okay.
that I could, start the trek to sexologist. So all of the things, the small courses I took, like trauma-informed courses and consent
Mm-hmm.
courses, and all of the things that I could do to just add on more, just got me going, in addition to the scholarly trek, so that I can eventually
Yes.
make it to Dr. E Michelle. That's the path I'm on right now.
Yes. Oh, and you shall complete that path. I have
Yeah.
no doubt whatsoever.
Yes.
No doubt. Well, that is amazing. I tell people I'm not going back to school for anything. I just
Listen,
I,
sometimes I'm like, oh, do I still want to continue to do this?
if
Um,
you want Dr. Michelle, yeah,
yes,
and
exactly. That's
it's great. That's never like been a path of mine. And my background is with the product. So I have my certification in holistic aromatherapy. So
mhm.
ingredients and
Yeah.
product and that's kind of my path in the sexologist thing. And I'm like, so that is amazing. So do tell me about the Pleasure Masters Institute because um but you know what? Before you tell me about it, before we get into that,
Okay.
I want to take a break to thank my sponsors, Union Condoms. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Union Vegan Condoms, but they are a game changers. And yes, they are vegan. And I always tell people, no, it's not a lettuce wrap. You cannot eat them. Okay. So experience the ultimate connection with their precision fit vegan condoms, meticulously designed to let you feel it all. Say goodbye to animal byproducts and unpleasant odors because at Union, they keep it clean and simple with their formulas. Union condoms are more than just protection. They're your ticket to safe and comfortable intimacy for all of your body parts. So why wait? Elevate your pleasure with Union Condoms today and visit unioncondoms.com to redefine your intimacy game. And while you're there, you can receive 20% off of your first order with coupon code Organic Love. That's unioncondoms.com because love should be clean, simple, and sensational. So try Union Condoms and rediscover the joy of connection. And as always, practice safe and consensual intimacy. And thanks to our sponsor. So tell me how you came to launching the Pleasure Masters Institute.
Yeah, wow. So let me just tell you, I attended another program, uh,
Mhm.
and when I got the information on this program for someone else who had been in the industry, and I got in the program, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not what I anticipated. It was very antiquated. A lot of the information was very cis heteronormative,
Mhm.
very monogamous centered. There
Mhm.
was no diversity in the program.
Mm.
It was a lot of lacking elements into it. And as I was going through the program, because I'm connected in the sexuality industry with other people, they were
Sure.
telling their stories about so many of the other, institutes or
That
learning.
shall not be named, but we know who
Right,
they are, who
right.
are
They
just
were they were telling their stories, right? And a lot of them are like, okay, I didn't get this information. I don't know what this looks like. A lot of them were
yes.
coming to me asking questions. And I think largely because they knew I had a business background, right? So
Mhm.
I was able to feel some of the challenges or things that they were missing about the business aspect. And
Mhm.
also it's like you're hopping into this business, and even though you can give people information about sex, they have to know how to implement that information.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that was not happening in these other companies. It just was not
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
Um, and so I after doing like lots of research and correlation with other people who were in the industry, I'm like, okay, if it's not out there and people don't have the financial resources or the time to
Mm.
take, secondary education, or
Sure.
or go the trek beyond to get this information, maybe it's something that I could fill the void on, because I do
Okay.
have a unique opportunity to learn when I didn't take a traditional pathway to
Sure.
this education. I'm literally
Same.
in the sexuality industry, right? I'm not
Right.
just giving
Same.
you, I'm not giving you theory. I'm giving you
Exactly.
in this. I know what it looks like, right? Even though I know what theory looks like,
Of course. Of course.
I'm in this doing the work. So let me see if I can fill that. And also the unique aspect that I had is because I did have a business background. I was a business
Mhm.
development consultant. I have
Yes.
seen people give me their ideas like, hey, E Michelle, I want to create a business. And so I help them create business from the idea all the way, up to fruition. And so
Mhm.
I knew
Mhm.
what that looked like and how that could be transformed in the sexuality industry. So
Mhm.
that is kind of how Pleasure Masters was born. I'm like,
Nice.
it's something I have the ability to help people with. I also, one of the biggest things that I saw as well is when I was just getting in, I want to say a baby sexuality professional, no one wanted to give you real information about things to avoid. It was very difficult to get any help from anybody.
As in, like, things to avoid, like,
Like, you're in the sexuality industry. What are some things that I should not be doing on the internet? Right? You're in
mm,
the sexuality industry. What are some things that I should be avoiding?
yeah.
Nobody really wanted to give you any information. Oh, do you know how I could potentially do this? Right? It was like, we don't want you to take our business. We don't want to give you any information. And I didn't want that for any of the people that came to me. To me, I am
Right.
a resource, right? We are in this
Yes.
thing together. There are enough people to serve the
There's
world.
8 billion people, and there's not enough people that there's so much, and people are turning 18 every day, first of all,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
And that is interesting that people were kind of gatekeeping the information when they're supposed
Absolutely.
to be educators.
Yes. Oh,
And if you're
it's like we can be educators, but we don't want to give you the information that might put you in a different position or a higher position. At least that was their thought process.
what is that saying? People want to help you be better, but not better than them.
Not better than them. Never.
Right.
Never.
And I'm not sure if you have found this, but in my 10 years in this industry professionally, and then my own, you talk about having, like 25 years of marriage, and no infidelity, and 12 years of those marriage, ethically monogamous,
Mhm.
13 years of those marriage ethically non-monogamous, and going through open and swinging and kinky and
Mhm.
poly. So, and then understanding both actuality and theory. But one of the things I've discovered amongst meeting other sexologists or sex educators, and I primarily coach in the ethically non-monogamous swinger community, the stigma that some educators feel about swingers. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, you're with them people. And I'm like, aren't you an educator who's educating people about sex and sexuality? And there is such a stigma amongst some sex educators, like I haven't met them all, about the swinger community. And they, like you said, that heteronormative kind of thing. And even my husband and I had, as swingers, had gone to a sexologist. And I remember her saying, because you're doing full disclosure, because you can't get counseled if you don't do full disclosure. And we told her, oh, we're been in a lifestyle at that point for several years, but we went for some other things. And she said, well, if we fix this thing, will you stop sleeping with other men and you stop sleeping? I'm like, okay, that part works fine. Don't try to fuck this up. That part works fine. Sleeping with other people works fine for us. We don't have an issue with the lifestyle. We got good communication. That's not why we're here. But she contributed the issues, the challenges with our sex life to the lifestyle. I'm like we're not, that's not the issue we have.
Right.
So even her as a therapist had this stigma that you have to stop that and everything will be fine. Like, no. So we stopped seeing her.
Taylor, when I say it's so you just hearing your experience, I hear it all the time. Like I hear it all the time. My clients are coming and they're like, oh, we went to a sex therapist and the sex therapist was, they're religious. So they're giving advice based on religion. They're giving all of their biases and their belief systems are showing up in the way that they're interacting with their client. And I'm like, I am here to help you. Listen, if you told me you wanted to take, you wanted to have oral from the back, baby, I am going to empower you to have oral from the back. Let me give you all of the pieces you need to know so you do that safely, right? But I am not going to restrict you from doing any of those things. We're going to talk about the potential impact that they may potentially have, right? But I'm empowering you to do the things that you feel are best for you with all of the information at hand.
Exactly. And that's all we should be doing, is empowering people to make the best decisions for themselves and giving them the information, the impact, what it means. Just when people come to me about how do I talk to my partner about opening the relationship, and I'm like, well, here are the steps, but once you ring that bell, you will not be able to unring it.
Absolutely. Have you had a full conversation, right? Do you know what it could potentially, really, have you gotten down to the nitty gritty? Because you may be in the middle of a threesome and decide, oh, I don't like the way he touched her. Now, have y'all communicated?
Now, what you gonna do, girl? You can't unring them bells in the middle of a threesome. You cannot get pissed off in the middle of a threesome. You just have to wait till the next day.
Like,
so that thing you did last night? I was just telling someone a story. I don't mean to get sidetracked, but I'm squirreling on you right now. The first time I saw my husband have sex with a white woman, which I agreed upon, and I was there to watch it all, because sometimes I'm like, I don't trust them. They, have too much to drink, and all of a sudden it wasn't consensual. But anyway, and it was all fine and well and fun to watch. 15, 20 minutes in, until we got to 30 minutes in, and then I'm like, okay, first of all, when do you go that long? Okay, what is going on here? And then it became hot and heavy and sweaty, and it started to look very Mandingo-ish to me. Girl, I was like,
oh, baby.
My head is, and I'm like, oh, you just gonna keep going. You just gonna get. But I knew it was my thing. It was me.
Yes.
So I didn't interrupt, and it was all fine and well. And he walked her back to her room because we were at the resort. And he came back, and he had a good time. Oh yeah, great. Went to sleep, and he tells the story that in the morning he woke up, and I was like staring at him. I'm like, you can't do that anymore. He's like,
no.
What did I do wrong? I'm like, I just can't handle it. You did nothing wrong. You just can't be fucking white women no more. I'm sorry. and I just can't handle it. He was smart enough to go, but I can still have sex with black women, right? And Latina women, yeah. Asian women, yes. Indian women, yeah. Native American, yes, yes, yes. He was like, fine. He'd see a Becky, he'd be like, get away from me.
Can't do that.
Didn't do that. There was 14 other 100 races of women he could deal with. He was fine and kept. I got over it even after a while, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's true though.
It was all in my head. It was all in my head. So you decide to launch this, the Pleasure Masters Institute, and you are actually offering certifications, yes?
Yes, yes, yes.
So what are the areas of study that people can study under you and or get certified?
Right. So we have 3 different levels that are a part of our institute. Level 1 is certified sex coach for anyone who is just wanting, they're wanting to become a sex coach, not necessarily going the pathway to sexologist. If there are people who are wanting to become sexologists like me, right, they would go to pathway to certified sexologist, which is level 1 and level 2.
Okay.
It is effectually anybody that goes through level 1 or level 2 can take their hours that they've received from our institute and take it to the American Board of Sexology to get their ABS credential.
Sweet.
And then level 3 is our certified intimacy and relationship coach, which is people take independently if you're wanting to learn more about like relationships in general, communication, vulnerability, betrayal, that sort of thing. It focuses more on that aspect instead of sex. So yeah, we have those 3 that are the centerpiece of our program.
Okay. Are they each self-paced, or are there specific classes that are during a time frame?
You can do them either or, right? We have traditional cohort classes. So say for like every week they meet at a certain time. There's lectures that happen. We have coaching components with the students so that they know how to coach on these things, the objections that happen for those things. We also have profit generating systems. So if we're teaching, let's just say, for instance, this week 1 just started our winter spring cohort just started yesterday, right? For one of our cohorts. This is their week on anatomy. So when we're coaching in this week, they're in live classes, they're going to be learning profit generating systems to focus on anything that is related to anatomy, and then all of the stuff that they learn about the anatomy, right? That's what it looks like every single week in traditional cohort, or people can do it self-study and it's self-paced at their own. They have to complete a practicum with us. So even though every module may have like a learning element to just test to make sure that they retain the information, they were able to comprehend it, at the end of the program, they're required to do a practicum with us to show that they really know how to take the information they learn and implement it. So it's not just I learned a bunch of information. I need to know that you know how to coach on this. If you're a coaching client, how will you do this? I need to know that you know how to describe the anatomy. I need to know that you understand the right verbiage and things to say. That's the part of the program.
There's a popular guy online that recently he understands veganism and food and plant medicine. And for some reason he decided he was going to move over to our part of the woods. And he recently said that men's sperm had spinal fluid in it. And girl, wait, and that when the man ejaculates, the spinal fluid goes to a woman's brain, which is why she gets dick whipped. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, no, my God. The man would die if every time he ejaculated, he lost some spinal fluid. First of all, like, he'd be dead by the time he was 12. Okay. And I'm like, and I literally, this is one of the times that I'm like, this is the most stay in your lane with food. You know nothing about sex and sexuality. Do not, this is the most asinine thing. There is no truth to that. There may be some molecules that are shared, but there is no spinal fluid in sperm. And it definitely does not get to a woman's brain. I'm like, oh my God.
I don't even, I think, and the only thing I can even think that he might be equating to that is that an ejaculatory response is a spinal cord response, but you don't get spinal fluid.
Yes.
Like, I don't know where he's coming up with that at all.
Girl, somebody started saying this some years ago, and it has been circling the internet, and stupid people And as we had
Right.
mentioned briefly before, ever since COVID, there's been a million coaches that have launched in every area. I don't care if it's golf or
Yeah.
sex or food or exercise, but most of them don't have the background or the
Nope.
knowledge. They have a mic and they are just spewing information. And it's almost tickling, because there have been me and my sex goddess friends who've been sex goddesses for the last 10 years. Since COVID, now there's like 172 new sex goddesses. I'm like, say what now?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just been almost funny to watch. I mean, I don't know if you have felt that same thought process about the number of sex educators and coaches who have, popped up since COVID.
Yeah. It can be quite infuriating, especially when you are seeing people who don't have the level of education you have get, all of a sudden it's like, how in the hell did you just open up a school? And listen, there's another lady out here, and I'm not going to share her name, but one of her
No
students
need to.
they came to me, right, to start my program. They're currently in my program. And I'm hearing them describe that this person literally quit her job in November of 2020. Okay, listen, quit her job in November 2020. January 2021, started writing sex blogs in January 2021. February of 2022 was coaching people on sex and intimacy, no background in sex or anything at all. Now has a full-fledged school that is teaching people.
No. And
Yes,
people,
indeed. And people have been going to her school. No background. I'm like, so when people come and I'm like, how long have you been doing this? Like, really, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been coaching people? How long have you been studying? How much time do you spend studying this craft? How much time are
right.
you really in it? I spend the very first 2 hours of my day doing research.
Girl, and yes, research and reading, right? And
Absolutely.
because lately my hashtag to people is some responsible. I'm like, Google is your friend. Some of these things you can just Google and figure out that is just bullshit.
It's
And
BS.
they won't even do that.
Nope.
And it's like, it's not, wait, last example, I promise. There's some guy who, the guys who do the massages all on your butt and it's all kind of
Yes.
sensuous. He's massaging this woman, and this woman's man, I don't know if it's her actual husband or not. He's sitting there like, oh, so is that what you want? Is that the kind of thing you like to have happen? You look at him slapping your butt. And it's fun, right? People are like, oh, he's cuckold. I'm like, that's not cuckold. Cuckold involves a form of humiliation. And since he's not being humiliated by the wife or the guy, this is more voyeurism, and he's getting a kick out of it. He could be humiliating her by posting her ass up on
Yeah.
IG, but some guy responded to me. He was like, just because you teach sexualism, you're wrong. You don't know. I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't teach sexualism. Okay. I'm an actual educator, and you don't have a clue. This is not cuckold.
No.
Cuckold, Google is your friend. I'm like, this is not cuckold. There's no humiliation here. And it's
No.
not even, but it's like, they just, and some
They,
of them, God rest his soul, Kevin Samuels, started some of this
oh,
craziness with,
goodness gracious. Oh,
bless his
God.
little heart. And
Yes.
yeah, bless his little heart. He was on a path and he had a clue, and he just kind of veered right,
He went all the way to the left. He
or
said,
he veered left.
he said, this ain't starting this is not doing enough controversy. Let me go to the controversial route. And that's where,
Yeah.
all of the
Yeah.
people came from.
We weren't his target market, because
No.
we're grown. He was marketing to young girls who was still full of insecurities,
Yes,
or women who were 30s and still full of insecurities about themselves, their sexuality, their bodies, their looks, and they just believed him.
yeah, they in droves believed him and still are passing along his message.
Well, so many men, after he died, so many men picked up where he left off, and they are
Yes.
just, if you ever go into some of their groups, they're just filled with men who hate women, and especially
Yeah.
hate Black women.
I receive a lot of that in my comments.
Meaning,
A lot
of
of the men who have those belief systems of like hate toward women. And I think a lot of,
Really?
oh yeah, because I have told to people, I consider myself a womanist, right? I'm not
Okay.
a feminist, I'm a womanist. And so on my page, like this, for example, my TikTok page, I'm like, if you come on my TikTok page, my
Mhm.
messaging is not for men. If I am ever speaking to an issue that is about men, it is so that women get the benefit of it.
Right. Okay.
And I say this because by and large, at least my experience, and I'll also share my husband's experience, and also from the
Mhm.
people that have been received training from me, the men don't think they need help. So I'm not talking to you
Mm.
because you don't think you need help.
Right.
Like
Right.
you
Like
don't think,
Kevin Samuels didn't bother me because I'm like, I'm not your target audience, and I know
no,
what you're saying is bullshit, and it does not involve me. But I know there is somebody that needs to hear what he says.
right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
not talking to you, but I will tell you, I'm talking to your woman because I know the lack that has happened just
Mm.
because she's in my inbox message telling me, baby, I ain't had an orgasm and I don't know how long. This man is not listening to me. I can't communicate my wants and needs. He gets offensive. He gets aggressive. This conversation is not for you. And so then they're in the comments with
Wow.
their anger and aggression. And
Wow.
whenever they don't have a valid excuse, I'm a fat bee.
Oh my
That's
God.
exactly where it goes.
Oh my God. And
Yeah.
I'm just old.
Yeah, that's where they go. It's like, oh, you don't have a valid excuse. Let me just attack you on
Yeah.
ageism or, whatever.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like, what do you know? And you're old. I'm like, your son doesn't think so. I don't say that, but
Right?
your 37-year-old son is,
Right.
but I never, I don't get too much of the things I do get is mostly ageism,
Mm,
about
mhm.
my age, because I tell my age. I'm not lying about my age, but
Yeah. Oh, the
yeah.
fat phobia comes out in major
Oh
droves
my
anytime I say
God.
something and they don't like it. I'm like, listen, I've been fat my whole life. You calling me fat doesn't hurt my
Don't make
feelings.
no difference.
I see myself in the mirror on a regular basis. I know I got a fat body that is not hurting my feelings.
Yeah, you got 4 children. Let me tell you something about
Exactly.
somebody that love all of that, all of that cushion,
Exactly.
girl.
I said, this man over here with this fat body is just perfectly fine, baby.
Listen, I said to your husband, we were talking. I said, oh, I was asking him, did he do something or something with regards to the business or whatever? And he looked at me and goes, I do whatever she tells me to do. I'm
Amen.
like, I said,
The
oh, I
amen and
love a
ashe.
I said to him, "Oh, I love a well-trained husband. Where your wife at? Where's she at? I got to get up and come." I said, "See if she'll come by because we had seats. But you were talking. I'm like, that's all right. I'm gonna go over to her,
Yeah.
girl." He
Yeah.
was like, but now I know why. Also, from the backstory of you being there for him and
Yes.
seeing him through this life altering challenge health wise for him. And even
y-
before that, you were supporting his career in the military. So he's
Yes.
like, I'm gonna do whatever she tells me to do because this woman has been there for me in health
Yes.
and in sickness, you
Yes.
know. And he probably didn't say she let me eat it from the back, but
And do and will.
how you want it, baby.
Yes, however you want it. Let's line that up.
Do you find is there any questions that you find that are common? Like one of the main questions I get from individuals and or couples is, how do I ask my partner X, or how do I tell my
Mhm.
partner I'm into this?
Mhm.
Is there for the people that come to you, um, have you found there is a common thread that people tend to want to know from you?
Yeah. Primarily, probably the biggest things I get asked, and I'll probably tell you my top three. One, how do I communicate what I want and need in the bedroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the largest things. What do I do about the fact that I don't have the sexual desire as high or as low as the other person?
Mm-hmm.
Um, is another thing. And then another, the one of the biggest ones is how do I get this idea about how women are supposed to show up out of my
Mm,
head so that I can be better in bed. Where I'm
mm,
having a lot of women that were raised in church or were raised with purity culture, respectability politics,
Yes.
morality, all of those things, judgment, blame, shame, centered around how they
Yes.
show up in sex. And I'm like, we got to do something about that, which is I created a whole entire like methodology to help people work on getting rid of their central shadows, because those are the things that
Mm-hmm.
ultimately show up in the way you have sex, right? You're like,
Yes.
hey, I want to have a good sex life, but then you worried about somebody calling you a hoe. You heard that it's wrong to do these things.
Right.
Shifting and reframing those thought processes is really huge.
Yes.
That's one of the things that I those top three is what I hear from most for the
Okay.
people that come to seek me out.
Yes. 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 Yeah. Don't call me a hoe in bed either. Or
I'll take a hoe.
slut or bitch. I'm like,
I heard that.
it's like, and I know some women love that. They wear the slut collars. I'm like, it's got it. You can
Yeah.
call me your
Yeah.
goddess in bed, your chocolate, your brown sugar baby, but
Yeah.
a slut girl. And I'm not shaming anyone who likes to be called a dirty slut in
Yeah.
bed. Like, go for it. Be called a dirty slut. But the religious aspect, especially here in the Western world, it's so heavy. And I've had some folks do that as well. And it's like, and the husband's like, she won't suck my dick. And I'm like, what do you mean you won't suck his dick?
No.
And come to find that it's because their mom said that it was
It
dirty.
was dirty, right?
And I'm like, well, you realize you're not sleeping with your mom now, first of all. And she told,
Yeah.
our moms tell us these things to protect us.
Yeah.
So we're
You
not
have
out here getting pregnant and catching
right.
diseases, but you're in your partner, you're in a marriage now. And if you're going to refer to the Bible, then go to that part that says the marital bed cannot be spoiled.
Yeah.
If you're going to
I
follow the
think
Bible.
yeah, if it is that you're going to follow the Bible. And here's I think part of the challenge, and you tell me if this has been your experience, at least
Mm,
from my experience doing this. What I've seen most happen is that they may have a desire to want to deconstruct some of those things that they've learned. It's in knowing how to implement that is the
mm-hmm.
biggest challenge, right? It's like, I know this isn't nasty because this is my husband or my significant other,
Yes.
but I don't know how to get those the scripts that I have out of
Mm-hmm.
my head, because this is like and you can scroll on. I will never forget. I woke up one day, there is a comedian. I call her a social media comedian because that's where I found her. But
Okay.
there's a comedian on TikTok that did this series on TikTok called Fast Girls. Like,
Mm.
is this
That
whole
was one of
series,
them. That was my label.
right, right. But this whole series around young girls being framed as fast. So you have already adultified these young girls before they even know what it looks like to be an adult. You've already started to shame and blame them for the use of their bodies, which are naturally recurring, and something
They
that
got
is
no control of them them titties, that ass, them
nothing.
hips.
Nothing. You've taken away the accountability for anybody outside of them, not the grown men who were pursuing these girls. Now it's the girls,
Yes.
right? All of
Yes.
these systems, if it's difficult to get past that, if everything you are seeing is to the negative aspect, not the positive. And so they're like, I want to do this, but I don't know how to, because the constant messaging I'm getting is that this is wrong.
This is
It's
wrong.
wrong, right?
Yeah.
So really trying to work with them. That is like a love of mine, is specifically for women
Yes.
who have religious backgrounds, to help them
Mm-hmm.
start to shift and deconstruct from that and reframe their thought processes around what sex looks like, so they could show up and have the most amazing sex of their life without
Yes.
having to be worried about these constructs. Because all of it is a social construct, right?
It
Religion
is.
and all of that,
Even monogamy is a social construct, as a
right?
marriage is a
Exactly.
social construct. And it's like, it is so interesting just, talking to people about that and hear them say, well, my mom said, or my dad said, or the preacher said,
Mm-hmm.
and helping them to get beyond that as you do, and giving them some steps, you
Yes.
know, go back
Yeah.
to the bedroom and do this and this and this,
Yeah.
or, I had a couple, and she had the challenge with the oral sex with her husband.
Mm-hmm.
She was raised very much in the church, and he was raised by a mother and father who were very open, so he could talk about sex, and she
Mm-hmm.
was the one that was cringy. you know? And
Mm-hmm.
I asked her, I said, well, and I just kind of took her down some steps like, you say you love this man, right? Yeah. And so does he, treat you well? Yeah. Is he abusive to you? No. Has he ever hit you? No. Emotionally abusive? No. Does he help around the house? Yes. Does he help with the children? Yes. He puts money in the bank? Yes. He works a good job. He takes care of you? Yeah. He shops sometime. He helps with cooking? Yes. I mean, everything was positive about this man. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, you really should be sucking his dick with a heart full of gratitude.
I love
and,
that.
and the husband was like, oh, wait, I'm going to have my boys call you. I'm like, this is the man that you have chosen
Mm-hmm.
as your husband.
Yeah.
And based on all accounts, and you believe that the Bible says the marital bed cannot be spoiled, right? Correct. So then why would you not do this thing with a heart full of gratitude when he does all of these things for you? Not just because he does these things for you, but this is the man that you've chosen to love and you say you love. And this is
Mm-hmm.
something that he enjoys, because
Yeah.
you would enjoy it too if you had the gratitude of all of these things, in my opinion, and I get this from my
Yeah.
girlfriend Parish. She actually taught a class on for women who not for women who don't want to do blowjobs,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's called How
Yeah.
to Give a BJ with a Hot. It's like, I just don't want to do it. We're talking
Yeah.
about women who have the social construct. I would
And
do it,
that's
but
restricting. Yeah.
and so walking them down that path of, if you can get rid of all of these social things
Right.
and to have the gratitude for the man that you actually love, you could actually give him a blowjob with a heart
You
full of
could.
gratitude, because you would be more grateful for all of these things that he does. So it's for
Absolutely.
women who want to do it, not for women who are just like, I'm
Not,
not doing that.
yeah, I'm not doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like, if
Yeah.
you look at, I'm going to just talk like in terms of Christianity. If you look at the Bible,
Sure. Right.
everything
Because
in
it
the
doesn't.
Bible,
You're right.
everything in the Bible is totally the antithesis of anything pleasure for women,
Yes.
right? It is
Yes.
not, everything is women to serve the man. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing about the elevation of a woman, her pleasure, her sensuality, her sexuality,
No.
and for her to be catered to. So if
Mm-mm.
everything is about you being catered to, it's one of the reasons why I'm writing this book,
I
the
can't
path,
wait.
a
So you got to
woman's
come back on so we can
a
the
woman's
book.
guide to sexual satisfaction, because how in the world do you ever get to having the pleasure that you deserve if you don't think you deserve satisfaction? If everything has been framed around
Yes.
what someone else, what you have to do for someone else. That's what you
Mm,
see in the Bible,
yeah. It's
especially
all
for
about
women.
someone else. Yes.
It's all about serving a man. It's all about centering a man and his pleasure and his penis. None
Mm-hmm.
of that is none of that centers a woman and her pleasure and what she wants and needs and desires. None of it.
Right. Right. Because so you're saying that with regards to Christianity, religion and pleasure cannot exist in the same space.
No.
No, they cannot. You're correct.
And I'm saying this from the scope of the lens of women receiving pleasure. You can't,
Yes.
you have to look at it like, yes, are you committed in a marriage relationship? We've been
Mm-hmm.
trained to find a husband. Think about it. If we've been trained to find a husband, and then the minute it comes to sex, you don't do this, don't do that, can't do
Yes.
this, can't do that. Those things are totally opposite of one another. I cannot suddenly become somebody's wife and
Right.
know how to do all of the sexual things and be totally ill-equipped to do that.
Right.
Everything you've taught me is to the negative aspect.
Right.
Don't do this, don't do that. And now you want me to come and show up as a hoe in the bedroom? That
Right.
don't work.
But not too
Those
much
things,
of a hoe, because then you're
right,
gonna where'd you get all this experience from?
right. Not too much of a hoe. Just be a little bit of a hoe.
Yeah. But so many men, well, men cheat, of course, for all kinds of reasons. But
Yes.
I've counseled men, and or not counseled. I don't counsel. I've coached men
Yes.
who are afraid to ask their wives for what they want.
Mhm.
And I've also told people, a friend of mine, or partner of mine, was at a play party, a lifestyle party, and there was a married guy there at the party, and he was like, well, how come you don't bring your wife? you know, and he was like, oh, I can't bring my wife. She's the mother of my children. And he said, aren't you the father of your children? You're both parents. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
what's, you know, but it's like the men want to, oh, it's okay for you to be with other women, but you can't be with other men. And I've met women in the lifestyle community who put up with that dumb shit for a while.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, and I've even met women who met their men in the lifestyle and they were bisexual, but then the guy was like, yeah, but you can't be with another woman without me being there, without a threesome. It's like my
Control.
bisexuality does not have, it does not automatically offer you the opportunity to be with another woman that I
Right.
am with.
Right.
And I said to her when I met her, I said, and I had only met this woman, I said, this is, if you don't take hold of this as a bisexual woman, this is not going to
Gonna be
last long. I said,
problematic.
I'm not trying to put any damper on your marriage, but how are you
Yeah.
going to be, you can't be yourself. He met you as a bisexual woman. And so she had already started cheating on him by sneaking out to have sex with other women. Flash forward 8-9 years later, I saw that she was divorced and married to someone else. So I believe that because I'm like, that's not going to last. If you can't be yourself, eventually your true self will rise to the surface and be like, enough of this.
For sure.
Enough of this. So tell me also about your play parties. I saw on your site you have different types of. Tell us about the play parties that you have.
Yeah.
And yes,
Most of what you see on there is really very vanilla-ish, right?
that's okay.
Yeah, they're very vanilla-ish. Uh, um, it's just like if somebody wants to come and learn, let's say for instance, it's like I'm trying to introduce new aspects of play in the
Mm,
bedroom, right? E
yes,
Michelle, can you come and teach us? And I'll come and show up and do sex exploration parties to kind of introduce them to different elements of like sex and play. So
yes,
similar to maybe bringing the ball and doing the ball and showing sex positions and showing them the best toys to utilize with those sex positions
sure.
or maybe they want a tasting, right? They're trying to see how do I introduce BDSM or how do I introduce novelties or how do I introduce
Yes,
certain things? We'll bring
yes,
certain things to help them. Okay, well, this is a tasting. I never knew what it looks like to maybe play with these toys.
that's nice.
We bring that out and do that. It's yeah, there's so many different variations of what we
Yes.
do within the party confines, but I really want people to have a chance to learn, right?
Yes, it's amazing. I saw the ones that you offer, and I said, "Oh, those sound like so much fun." You know, like I said, most of the people like I teach with are in the swinger community. They're like, you got anything deeper?" You know, they're like, "No," you know,
Right.
they're kink, they're ethically non-monogamous, they're swingers, they're nudists. And
Mhm.
you know, it's always funny. I do some of my seminars, like my on sex positions using liberated sex fields, and people come straight from the pool area and I asked for a female volunteer, and she'll just lay down on the floor. And I look down, and she's got on no panties, nothing. And I'm
Like,
like, well, isn't that a pretty pussy? And she's like, thank you. I'm like, girl,
I love that.
you know, my people, I love my people.
I
Well,
love
you
it.
know, I have one final question for you,
Okay.
and I cannot thank you enough for being here. But the final question I would like to ask you is, what does sex mean to you?
Oh, I think the one word that immediately popped in my head is freedom.
Mm,
I truly believe that in a space where we are living our lives totally ran by all of the other things, it is a one place that you should be able to be totally and utterly free. Free to do and try and explore all of the things that you want to that make you feel safe and yummy and gooey and all of those feelings. It is just utterly freedom to me. It's my opportunity to laugh and
yes.
and have pleasure and right now I'm just getting tingly feelings. That's what it feels like. It feels like freedom,
Yes.
tingly feelings and joy. I use the word joygasm
Oh,
because
I
that's what
love
it
that
feels like.
joygasm.
That's what it feels
Did
like
you?
a
Okay,
total
did you get
joygasm.
some t-shirts with that? You might
No,
wanna-
I didn't. I
You
didn't.
might want to copyright that and get, I'm serious, and or trademark that
Yeah.
and get you some t-shirts and bikinis and thongs that say joygasm. I
Yeah.
love that. And you might as well go buy the domain joygasm.com.
I look like
You
I'm
got till
dusting off
Monday to
do that
get it.
right
I'm gonna
now.
buy joygasm.com. If somebody
Right.
don't already own it.
Yes, for sure.
I love joygasm. That is so much fun. Well, E Michelle, thank you so much for being on the
Thank you,
show.
Taylor.
It was
Thank
so
you so
good.
much. I enjoyed this. This was so much fun.
Oh no, and I'm so excited that you were here. So to my lovely sexy audience, to stay up to date with Sexologist E Michelle, you could visit her website, sexologistemichelle.com, or on the Business of Sex side, if you're looking into certification and or getting more knowledgeable about sex and sexuality and sexual health, you could visit her pleasuremastersinstitute.com, and be sure to follow her on Sexologist E Michelle on IG. And of
Yeah.
course, to stay up to date with Sisters of Sexuality. If you have any questions for me or any of my guests, feel free to email me at sistersofsexuality@gmail.com. And of course, Sisters of Sexuality on all social media. Be sure to visit all of our sponsors, liberator.com, unioncondoms.com, where you get 20% off of your first order using the code Organic Love. And of course, my sister site, organiclovin.com. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. And if this episode resonated with you, would you please consider subscribing on our YouTube channel as a way of supporting the growth of this channel? And it allows us to keep informing, educating, and entertaining you. You can also support this channel via a monthly subscription on anchor.fm/Sisters of Sexuality for as little as $4.99 a month. And until next time, stay sexy. Bye-bye.
Organic Lovin', for the bodies you love to love. How do people describe you? Are you curious, playful, maybe sensual, adventurous? How about open-minded? The truth is, no matter who you are, Organic Lovin' has something to indulge your fantasies. We offer only organic, natural, and eco-friendly intimate body products, including vegan condoms, organic lubricants, body-safe sex toys, and sex-positive books. You won't find anything harmful in our products or toys. We also have a full range of other experiences, including erotic seminars and exotic adult-only vacations. Receive our adult subscription box for a monthly sexual delight. Be educated, entertained, and informed. Organic Lovin', for her, for him, for you, for the bodies you love to love. Visit organiclovin.com. We offer shipping worldwide, so stop by the site anytime. Organic Lovin', that's LOVEN.com.